Hey everyone, Willie Clark here. Ugh, my hair is getting long. That's actually the only reason I'm recording these videos, is to have week by week by week footage of just how fast my hair goes. I actually have cut this shot already and shaved in between, and I still have like 4:30 o'clock stubble going on here. But anyways, welcome to week 2. I'm going to try to do these things weekly, because that seems to be what people like. I've got some cat wars going on over here in the corner. But yeah, oh, hi Midna. Midna, you want to say hi to the camera? This is Midna. Midna's making a special guest appearance, though she's apparently not very happy about it. But yeah, this is week 2. I want to say thank you to everyone who subscribed and watched last week. I had over 100 viewers, which in the scheme of like multi-million, thousand viewerships of YouTube is probably, you know, not huge. I mean, I don't need that paper. But I thought that's pretty good. For 1 week of just kind of shitting something out and throwing it out there, I thought 100 viewers was pretty good. So I'm gonna try to do these weekly. And the good thing is, for a Nintendo guy, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We have a lot of stuff to talk about over the next few weeks, and I've got stuff in the cooker. That being said, this video is going to be about Breath of the Wild, and if I have somehow figured out how to put those little linky boxes in, by the time this video goes up, I'm going to try to put a link to my review over at ZAM. I mentioned last week, Nintendo did provide me a copy of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for me to review over at ZAM, and hopefully, like I said, little linky thingy, for people to go check it out. I didn't like it. I did not like Zelda, and people didn't like it, and that's fine. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinions. But I really don't want to spend time just responding to people's criticisms or commenting back and forth, because I don't really think that's super productive or fair, because, I post an article, people comment on it, I've said my piece, they say theirs. I don't want to then start making videos about responding to specific things that people say. That being said, I do want to talk about why I think Breath of the Wild is not that good of a game, and this is going to be an unpopular opinion, and that's fine. I'm still going to sleep at night, mostly. But it's tough. It's tough being a Zelda fan. I mean, right now, you guys can't see from behind the camera. You can't see the fourth wall over there. But just from where I'm sitting, Deku Link, Ganon, Twilight Princess HD box, 3 more Zelda statues, the Wind Waker baton, and Ocarina, 4 Zelda amiibo. Link, I've got Link behind me. Like, as a Zelda fan, it is... Oh, I forgot. Fucking King of Red Lions, look at that. And I do that not to say, I'm clearly a Zelda fan, but I do that to say, oh, I'm clearly a Zelda fan. And I was still really disappointed with Breath of the Wild. I think there were a lot of things that the game just didn't do well. So let's get going. Let's dig into it. First of all, numero uno. Exploration. Breath of the Wild is a huge, huge game, and I've played open world games before. Xenoblade X is a perfect example, and Xenoblade X, developed by Monolith Soft, Nintendo put it out, but Xenoblade X did a better job of making an open world game than Zelda did, and it was weird since Monolith Soft worked, helped on Breath of the Wild, and so you would have thought Nintendo would have absorbed some of that knowledge and put it into Breath of the Wild, and I really don't feel like they did. Xenoblade X and both of the Xenoblade games, I'm kind of lumping them together in some of this, and that's fine, because this is my video. I think it is fair that some of what limits Breath of the Wild is the fact that it's realistic. Hyrule does not have foreign alien landscapes, it's all mountains. Parts of it, there are some mountainsides that I can think of right off the top of my head right now in Breath of the Wild that were beautiful. But climbing slowly up a mountain just to get to the top and then to go over the hill and climb up another mountain gets old really, really fast. And I think one of my biggest problems with it was the stamina meter. It makes no sense to me why a game that's so focused is go explore this world, have fun, adventure, do whatever you want, but we're going to limit you and check your progress at every single step of the way. And that's really what they did. Every single step of the way, something is stopping you from doing what you want to do. A lot of the times that's the stamina meter. And for a game, like I said, the whole epitome of Breath of the Wild is explore this wild universe, but it makes it frustrating and hard. Let's get into point 2. I don't know how many points I'm going to have. I haven't figured that out yet. Breath of the Wild is really, really hard. In some ways, that's good. I do think that Zelda games have gotten way too easy. You know, they're especially playing them as an older, quote-unquote, older person. Now, oh shit, I forgot about my whole line of... Yeah, here we go. I'm just going to bounce off and tell you what's around. I forgot about my whole line of Zelda little dinky-doos. I don't know what you'd call them. I forgot their name. They came in like gumball machine balls, and I was actually really mad because I imported these all from Japan, and then now you can find them in America. So that's my side story through Willie's toy collection, which is probably going to pop up in videos. Anyways, before I got sidetracked in my own video by my own toys. Zelda's gotten too easy. That's fine. Let's make it harder. However, dying, just like climbing, over and over and over and over again is not fun. It takes... And especially when, I feel like all of the enemies, it's not that they're well-designed or smart or anything like that. It's just that they hit you really, really hard all the time, continually. I'd say even up to, you know, towards the end of the game, it wasn't rare for, like, a random Bo Joe the Boblin over here to, like, kill you in, like, 1 or 2 hits. Or at least do pretty massive damage to you very quickly. Maybe not exactly kill you in 1 or 2 hits, but I feel like that's pretty close, so, yeah. And that's crazy. And like, and people respond to that and go, oh, well, you have to prepare, you have to cook, you have to do all these things. And people are really into this idea of like systems. These systems in Zelda are all interconnected and locking and working together, and it makes it feel real. It makes it feel like homework. It's just a stack of systems piled on top of each other to make you do more systems, to make you do more things. Like, it's interesting seeing all these people who are playing through the game now, and some of them agree with me, and, you know, a lot of people still don't. But it's interesting going through and reading other people's thoughts on it, and they're like, oh man, I just love getting lost and exploring this wild open world, and I'm reading this and going, yeah, that's exactly what I didn't like about this game. Like, have fun. More than anything, Breath of the Wild really, really, we're gonna come back to the King of Red Lions here, really reminds me of Wind Waker. It's another giant expanse open ocean, except it's an ocean of grass and mountains, and it's not very fun to get around. You know, when I first played Wind Waker, when I was this high, I was a fairy dwarf midget. When I was that high, like, I enjoyed it. I loved running around in Wind Waker and doing nothing. That to me was fun. That's not fun to me anymore in games. And running around, most of the time in Breath of the Wild is just spent running around doing nothing, trying to get to things you actually want to do. That's especially true if you're like me and you're playing a game like Zelda for, you know, the story, which isn't that good. Now, I will say there are some parts of the story that I haven't unlocked. Yeah, I have beaten the game. There are some parts of the story, and I don't want to spoil what they are or how they're unlocked, but I will say the way that you unlock them is ridiculous and is an awful idea, and it may be one of my most hated things that the game does in its entirety. But let's talk about the actual Zelda stuff. This is a Zelda game. What Zelda stuff's in it? There was worry initially, I was part of that worry, that there were going to be no towns. You know, we've seen towns, that's out there, that's in public domain, that's not spoilers. There are dungeon areas, that's a thing. But almost everything that this game does in terms of Zelda-ness has been done better in a different Zelda game. Items, weapons, dungeons, characters, you name it, music especially has been done way better in other Zelda games. So when you have a game that's called The Legend of Zelda, and the Zelda stuff in it's not good, you already have a problem. Now that would be fine if all of the other new stuff that they're bringing into the series was also good, but it's not. If I'm playing through and exploring this world and not having fun, that's like, you know, for a lot of people, that's going to be most of what they do in Zelda. Like, I'm seeing, you know, continually people on my feed are talking about, oh yeah, I played Zelda for 40 hours and I haven't done a single story thing yet. That's awesome. That's boring to me. Like, and if that's how you have fun playing games, like, that's fine. You know, this is why a lot of people love Minecraft and stuff like that. That's not what I play Zelda for. I don't play Zelda for stealth. I don't play Zelda for sneaking around and being constantly destroyed by enemies one after the other. That's not why I play Zelda. Which brings me to another point. Weapons breaking. This is continually an issue in Zelda, to the point where I was somewhere relatively close to the end of the game, and I ran out of weapons. All of my weapons broke, I had nothing, and this is in Breath of the Wild logic, almost like being reverted back to level 1, the only way you can get weapons is by beating other people with the weapons you have, and if you're starting off with nothing, that kind of sucks. You know, I had to stealthily, like, keep attacking this one little encampment just to get items so I could progress through the game. Like, I had to, I'm pretty sure I was in the middle of a dungeon, and I had to leave the dungeon, go do all this stuff, and then come back to fight the boss because weapons broke. This should not be a thing. Everything in The Legend of Zelda is harder than it should be. And I get that people like really hard games, and that's fine. Not my thing. Another point I want to make, which I think is interesting, is I know that a lot of people did not like Skyward Sword. I enjoyed it. I think Breath of the Wild is in a lot of ways an overcorrection for the mistakes that Skyward Sword did make. Skyward Sword was absolutely way too hand-holdy. Instead, this game tells you nothing. I was way further along in the game than I'd like to admit before I figured out how to do cooking, because I was absolutely convinced you could get a pot. And somewhere in the game it was like, oh, don't cook stuff wrong, it won't turn out right. So it's like, okay, cool, I won't just do that, like I'll wait till I get something. You never get anything, you're supposed to just throw it in the fucking pot. I didn't know that, and there's continually stuff like that, and to some people it's really exciting figuring this out. Something that's so baked in to the main infrastructure of a game should not be hard, should not require you to continually experiment and get stuff wrong, and should make it easy for you to remember them. You also should be able to do it wherever you want, and you can't. If I'm in the middle of the dungeon and I ran out of food, there's no way for me to cook food and refill my life. That's awful. Like, Breath of the Wild to me represents Nintendo turning away from a lot of what they've held sacred in game design for years. And I do think a lot of people are really going to like Breath of the Wild. A lot of Zelda fans are going to like it, but I think more than any other Zelda game, it appeals to people who don't like Zelda anymore. Or, and this is interesting, Jason Wilson, and it was great, and hopefully I have another box for this here. I got to be on the Games Beat Decide podcast. I freelance for them as well, and talk about Zelda, and Jason, my editor there, mentioned how if it comes down to the age gap, he grew up with the original Zelda, and to him, Zelda is getting lost. It is not knowing what to do. And where me, and I've been going back and forth, and I've been trying to come up with what was the first Zelda game I played, and it was either the Oracle games, or Link's Awakening, or Ocarina of Time. They were all really close. Ocarina of Time, I think I watched people play before I ever played it or owned it myself, so it was probably the Game Boy ones first. Which, yeah, were absolutely much more structured. But you need some of that structure to progress. You know, the genius of Zelda's puzzles is you get an item and then the puzzles build and get harder and harder, teaching you how to do things, teaching you this whole puzzle language, how this universe works. And I feel like that's completely lost in the shrines, and almost completely lost in the shrines and dungeons of Breath of the Wild. So, yeah. Oh, Minu's now going to eat. I'll show this. This Nintendo did not send me. This I got myself. Like this guardian. I will tell one story. So these are the guardians that prowl the landside. I had a horse. I had a horse for almost the entire game until one of these little shits killed my horse. It was so close to the end of the game, I didn't end up going and getting another horse. But, like, your horse dies. Like, why? Your horse dies. Some people really like this Zelda game, and I don't. And that's fine. It's the internet. Let me tell you a little secret. Come closer. We're all allowed to have different opinions. I will say, and I don't know how much of this stuff is interesting to people, but given I review and write about video games professionally, I think it is interesting to talk about some of it. You know, when you review a game, you have very limited communication with other people who are playing it. You might talk and say, hey, did this thing, you know, can you help me here? I'm stuck, or something like that. But people, you know, I'm sharing my own opinion on a game. And, you know, I knew some people were going to really like Breath of the Wild, but I was shocked. Even I was shocked seeing the reviews come in that people liked it that much. I thought there were going to be a lot more people who didn't enjoy the whole continual transversing, and it's just a big bloated game full of not fun things to do except wander around and you know, run around willy-nilly with your dick out and your pants off. Like, I could go do that outside. I might get arrested, but I could. Oh, jeez, I might get in trouble for that. But, yeah, I could go run around outside and do that. Like, that's not what I look for a video game to. Like, everything in Zelda is a time sink on top of a time sink to not good endings. Like, you know, a game like Xenoblade X, the exploration was completely, I know I keep going back to that, but was completely rooted in the story. That was the point of what you were doing. Nowhere did any of the exploring or adventuring in Breath of the Wild teach me anything about Link, or teach me anything about the world or the story. And it's really funny to me seeing people talk about how like well crafted and everything is. Like I'd explore for hours and find like nothing interesting to do, or a stupid Goron golf minigame that sucked. It's just not that good of a Zelda game. And the thing is it's not that good of an open world game either. There are other games that Nintendo's released has done open world better. So I'm really surprised at all of the hype it's getting. And looking ahead, I'll talk about this a little bit. I'm very, very curious to see where Zelda goes from here, because you can't just take Breath of the Wild and then make it like twice as big. I'm gonna try not to go off on this, but the physics-based puzzle stuff just really doesn't do anything for me. It's manipulating systems to manipulate systems, and I don't know. I don't like the shrines. I think shrines in the form that they're in are just puzzles for the point of puzzles. They don't really advance or do anything well with the mechanics. And some of them are just fucking awful. And but even some of the mini quests or the side quests and stuff, like there's one specific set of side quests that, a third of it, there's so much stuff. Zelda games should not be about this. Hi, I'm Link, please don't hurt me. I'm just gonna sneak through here very, very quietly. Zelda games are about taking your fucking sword and cutting through stuff. That's what Zelda games are about. They're not like sneaking, they're not about this sword breaking. They're about Link being awesome and running through and being the hero. And do you eventually get to that feeling in Breath of the Wild? To some extent, but it takes you a while to get there. If delayed gratification is your thing, you might love Breath of the Wild. But anyways, there's my Breath of the Wild rant. Like last week, watch, share, comment, like, subscribe, all of those super cool things. This sword's actually sharp. And thank you guys for coming back for a second week in a row. We're going to try to be doing these weekly now. But for now, I'm going to go make myself some tea, take a tub, and read the new Walking Dead that I just got in today. So, you guys have an awesome week. Until next week, cheers. That being said, this video is going to be about a little game. Jesus. Cooking is not like something that's so built in. I got a better one. Let's back up. So, I think I'm out of focus. There we go. Oh my God, my fucking hair. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna go try not to go off on this because, but I'm gonna try not to go off on this, but it is my own video. But the fizzle bit, Jesus Christ. Pull yourself together. Okay. If delayed